You hit the number. 100,000. The number we were told would mean you made it. And now you're in your kitchen on a Tuesday night. Rent due in a week. Checking your bank app twice because the balance looks wrong and your stomach drops when you remember the paycheck already got sliced 3 different ways before you touched it. That is the mirage. You see 6 figures. You live on leftovers. Maybe you're the responsible person. You took the safe job, skipped the dumb car, put money in the 401k, and still feel broke in a 1-bedroom apartment with thin walls and a parking fee that feels like a joke nobody asked for. Sound familiar? Most people stop at salary, but salary is just the first layer. Then taxes hit. Then housing hits. Then cost of living turns the same $100 into a full cart in one place and 3 bags in another. That's why the zip code beats the paycheck. So we're running the math on the states where 100,000 still acts like real money, and the ones that quietly gut it. Start with Oklahoma City, because this is what efficient looks like when a city hasn't completely lost its mind on housing. You earn $100,000. After the full bite from federal tax, FICA, and state tax, you're left with about $74,700. Most people stop there, and that is where they miss the whole game, because take-home pay still doesn't tell you what your life feels like once rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, and plain old daily friction start chewing through it. Oklahoma City gives you a cost discount of almost 19%. So that 74 grand doesn't live like 74 grand. It lives like 91,868. Let that sink in. This is where the layered math starts to matter, because on the surface, a city can look boring, but the money stays yours long enough to do something useful instead of vanishing into a landlord's checking account by the 5th of the month. Picture Kayla. She's 33. She hit 6 figures and still got that cold hand feeling staring at a closing disclosure in a coastal city, because the monthly payment looked like a second tax bill attached to the house. Then she priced the same life in Oklahoma City. 3 bedrooms, yard, normal street. And the monthly PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance landed under 20% of take-home pay. Read that again. Under 20%. In a lot of big-name cities, housing alone eats 45% or more before food, gas, or student loans even show up. The people stuck in those cities don't just lose comfort. They lose time because a lighter housing bill means more money for cash savings, investing, and the retirement gap waiting for almost everybody who thinks 100 grand should solve this by itself. That's why Oklahoma City sits on this list. Not because it's glamorous, because the math is clean. And once the math gets clean, your paycheck stops acting like a pass-through entity where the money hits your account, waves hello, then slides right over to the IRS and your landlord. Now, if Oklahoma feels too quiet and you want a place with a little more polish without lighting your salary on fire, Nebraska does something most people never see coming. Lincoln doesn't get talked about much, which is part of why the numbers still work. The loud cities sell status. Quiet cities let you keep cash, and if you're the responsible person who already did the school, the degree, and the office job, cash matters more than status because status doesn't compound. Lincoln turns $100,000 into a real-life salary of $79,653. That number already bakes in taxes and local cost pressure, which means this isn't fake optimism or Chamber of Commerce nonsense. This is what your money can actually do once it lands. And while a lot of higher cost cities slipped backward, Lincoln moved up 1.72%. Let that register. You're not just holding ground, you're gaining a little space while other people fall behind. Think about the spread. Someone earning the same salary in a place like Philadelphia can end up with around $12,000 less room in the budget each year. That is $1,000 a month, every month. Invest $1,000 a month for 30 years at 7%, and you get around $1.2 million. Let that sink in. That is the phantom tax of living in the wrong place. Nobody sends you a bill for it. You just wake up later and realize the gap isn't talent, it's geography. Charlotte works for people who still want a real city, but don't want their paycheck punished for it. And that matters because a lot of us were taught you had to choose between career growth and basic financial breathing room. You don't. In Charlotte, the combined effective tax rate lands around 24.8%. So the paycheck starts smaller than gross, same as anywhere. But once local prices enter the picture, that $100,000 salary carries the buying power of about $81,820. That gap matters more than the headline salary because this is where the good job finally starts to connect with a livable month instead of a constant catch-up cycle. You can work in banking, tech, healthcare, or corporate ops and still find normal neighborhoods, normal commutes, and housing that doesn't force you into some fake luxury tower just to stay near work. Let that sink in. This is the state for the person who wants a promotion and a life. Again, you're not choosing between ambition and stability. You're buying both at once. Picture Jorge. He's 35, solid career, no stupid spending habits, and he's still got that tight feeling every time the lease renewal email hit because the city kept repricing his life upward while his raise barely covered lunch and insurance. Then he ran Charlotte. Same kind of job, different math. Rent didn't eat the month, and the bank account stopped draining by week 2. Most people move for brand names. The person who moves for spread, not status, quietly builds savings and buys back time. In Charlotte, $100,000 buys a life that would demand something closer to $180,000 in a place like Los Angeles. Let that register. That difference isn't style, it's leverage. And if you want the cleanest tax advantage possible, we have to talk about the two states people love to oversell. Texas and Florida get sold like a cheat code. And on the tax line, they kind of are. For a single filer making $100,000, the combined effective rate can land around 21.06%. That leaves take-home above $77,000. Set that next to Oregon, where the same salary can drop to about $69,000. That is roughly $8,000 gone. Every year, same work, different state line. But the free lunch ends fast. Texas hits through property tax. Florida hits through insurance. So the play isn't move there and relax. It's move there and read every line item. Take Houston or Jacksonville. No state income tax helps. But if you buy too much house, PITI swells fast and the savings leak right back out. Still, disciplined people usually come out ahead because no tax states don't punish the next raise the same way a graduated tax state does. More of the gain stays with you. That matters. Now let's hit the 3 states that wreck the title promise from the other side. The traps. First, Oregon on $100,000. A single filer can face a combined effective tax rate of 28.06%. That can push after-tax income down to about $69,039. Before rent, before groceries, before the week even starts. So when people brag about scenery, coffee, or vibes, run the math first. Pretty doesn't auto-pay your bills. Second, Maryland, and more specifically, Baltimore. Baltimore showed the highest effective tax rate in the city study at 31.5%. That drops the real value of $100,000 to about $68,329. You crossed 6 figures, and the system still turned it into high 60s money. Third, New York. New York carries the highest overall tax burden at 12.75%. And the New York side of the city data got ugly too, with places like Manhattan and Queens posting some of the sharpest drops in purchasing power. So you can earn more there, watch more get taxed. Then watch what's left by less. That is the triple hit. Taxes, housing, cost, that is what a trap looks like. So don't ask what the salary is. Ask what survives. Run your number against Oklahoma City, Lincoln, Charlotte, Houston, or Jacksonville. Then run it against Oregon, Baltimore, and New York. If the spread is more than $15,000 a year, you're not earning $100,000. You're donating the gap to your zip code. The math is brutal when you force it into the open. Drop your salary and city in the comments. I'll run the exact math for you. And subscribe.